It only took one viral video from this TikToker to force a restaurant to close down after only 2 months after its grand opening. Within 24 hours of this video blowing up, the chef was fired from his own restaurant and his career was back to square one. So this is the story of how only one bad day can turn into the most expensive mistake a restaurant owner has ever made. Because what started as a simple partnership between a small creator and a new wine bar ended up becoming a masterclass in how not to treat someone you're collaborating with, and how quickly the internet can really destroy your business. Because when I first saw the headlines to this story, I thought this was some like entitled influencer. She wanted her food paid for because I guess she had clout. And it seems like that's what a lot of people in the comments of these various posts talking about the situation thought as well. But as you're about to find out, this was not the case. So meet Carla, who goes by It's Carla Baby, a TikToker and micro-influencer, or well, former micro-influencer based out in the Bay Area, California. Before this incident took place, she was just another small creator in the food influencer niche. She had around 15,000 followers at the time and shared TikToks of various food dishes along with reviews of restaurants that she'd visited. And her videos, they were already getting a decent amount of engagement for her follower account. She was essentially playing the long game and building her audience steadily, doing what thousands of other food creators do: visiting restaurants, trying the food, and sharing her thoughts about them. So out of nowhere, when she posted a 5-minute video explaining that she just left a restaurant crying, you can assume it wasn't some calculated PR move or dramatic performance. It was clearly an extremely frustrated customer sharing a genuinely bad experience. So on July 23rd, 2025, Carla showed up to Kiss Cafe in San Francisco's Hayes Valley for what she thought was going to be a normal collaboration video. But as we're about to find out, that couldn't be any further from the truth. Now this all stems from the chef and co-owner of the restaurant apparently had concerns about Carla's follower account. According to Carla, while she was getting ready to film, she overheard him ask a member of the staff how many followers she had. When they pulled up her profile and saw 15,000 followers, he started complaining that the collaboration was a mistake and that she didn't have enough followers to justify it.
I started to film around the restaurant because I like to do that early on when there's less people, and continuing to film the setup in the kitchen and stuff because it's really cute. But I hear the host and this other guy talking, and this other guy is behind the counter, so it's a small restaurant. He's like 2 or 3 feet away from me, so I can hear everything they're saying. I know that they're talking about me because I can hear them saying TikTok, views, followers, so I start listening in. The new guy is asking the host who I am, why I'm here, and how many followers I have on TikTok and what my TikTok is. And this guy pulls up my TikTok and says that I have 15,000 followers and I have some videos have millions of views, whatever, and this guy is not happy about it. He was saying that I have too little followers and that this was a mistake. Saying to the host that he shouldn't have invited me and that this was a mistake and that this was bad.
Now, you would think about being a co-owner of a restaurant, this would be something you would know about from before, but I guess not. And obviously, it got a lot worse because apparently he approached her and questioned whether she'd done any research on the restaurant and basically implied that her audience couldn't afford to eat here. He also bragged that his daughter had 600,000 followers on TikTok, which probably made the whole thing even more awkward. It also kind of goes to show you like how out of touch he is as well, because it's like, hey, if you have an account with 15,000 followers and you're known for being a Bay Area food reviewer, odds are you have about 15,000 people who are really interested in going out and trying new restaurants in the Bay Area following her. So just like her recommending a restaurant could really add some serious foot traffic to a restaurant there. So the fact that he downplayed a local creator with a localized audience with 15,000 people just because his daughter had 600,000 followers on TikTok just shows how tone deaf he is. But he's about to prove himself to be even more tone deaf.
At this point, I am turning red because I'm so embarrassed and I feel really disrespected, but the new guy comes to me and I introduce myself, I shake his hand, and I'm telling him that I'm still excited about this collab. Immediately he says, "Did you do any research on this restaurant? Do you know what we do? Do you know who we are?" He asks for my TikTok. He goes on to say that my audience and my followers are not the kind of people that are going to be at his restaurant. It seemed like he was insinuating that my followers would not be able to afford to eat at this restaurant. Then he says, not to be snobby, but do you know who I am? And I say no, because I don't know who he is. He says he's a James Beard Award recipient or finalist or something, and I'm like, great, like I don't know what to say to that. And he said that his daughter has 600,000 followers on TikTok and that I'm not at that level.
Obviously, Carla, she felt disrespected, she canceled the collaboration and walked out. And later on, she posted a 5-minute video explaining the situation. And the chef in question is a man called Luke Sung. And it's not like he's a rookie chef who's still figuring out what he's doing. This guy had some serious credentials, especially in the San Francisco restaurant scene. Apparently, he was honored by the James Beard Rising Star Chef nominations in both 2000 and 2003, which is apparently a very big deal in the restaurant world. He made a name for himself with the Cal French restaurant called Isa, which is named after his daughter. Isa was actually a pretty big deal in San Francisco's dining scene for a few years, until Luke eventually sold the restaurant in 2010. But even so, it established him as a legitimate player in the city's competitive restaurant landscape. So, when he decided to open Kiss Cafe in May 2025, it was almost like this is his comeback story. The wine bar was serving upscale dishes like chicken liver mousse and steak carpaccio, and they took over the space that was formerly Petite Crenne in Hayes Valley. And fun fact, Dominique Crenne was actually the first female chef to ever attain 3 Michelin stars in the United States. So being in such a prime location, this being Luke's first restaurant venue after selling Isa, there was no doubt a lot of pressure was on him to make this successful. But at the same time, he had the experience, he had the location, and he had the connections to run an establishment like this, which kind of makes his behavior towards Carla even more confusing. Because for whatever reason, when faced with a perfectly valid collaboration opportunity, he chose to be dismissive and arrogant instead of professional. Whether it was a bad day, stress, new restaurant, or maybe just not understanding the value of working with smaller creators, he had no right to act out like this. Like, if the dude was so clued up with social media like he seemed to portray, like he would know that working with smaller creators, especially localized creators, would do very well for his restaurant. Because whether people like it or not, micro-influencers like Carla over the past few years have become essential for the restaurant scene, not just in the Bay Area, but everywhere. And since these creators are localized creators, typically with less than 100,000 followers, restaurants have been increasingly choosing them over bigger names for some pretty smart reasons. First off, they're obviously way cheaper to work with. While mega influencers with millions of followers might charge thousands of dollars for a single post, a micro-influencer will obviously be way easier on the budget. And obviously for new restaurants just trying to get their name out there, this is a huge win. But it's not just about the money. Typically, micro-influencers have much more higher engagement rates in proportion to larger creators. Since their audiences are way more niche, they're more engaged, which means on TikTok, when they recommend a restaurant, their followers actually listen and show up. And after all, smaller influencers feel more authentic and relatable. When someone with millions of followers posts about a restaurant, it can feel like it's an obvious paid ad. But when your friend's friend with 15,000 followers is like, hey, this restaurant's really good, most likely people will kind of listen to them a little bit more. It just feels more genuine. Whether it is or not, that's a whole nother debate. But the restaurant industry has clearly figured this out, or well, some of them, clearly not this guy. And that's why collaborations like this have somewhat become a standard in the industry. And after walking out of Kiss Cafe, Carla went home to make the video about it. And this whole video started off with her saying that she left the restaurant collab crying. She then went on to explain the whole situation from her perspective.
I don't know if I'm going to post this video because I'm like still shaking and I feel so frazzled, but I just left a restaurant collaboration crying. I had a TikTok collab with a new restaurant in Hayes Valley that I was really excited for. I had it planned since last week.
Okay, so not addressing her directly, talking like she wasn't there, and obviously the restaurant space was small enough to where she could clearly hear everything, but he still opens her TikTok and starts watching her TikToks on full volume while judging her. Okay. And then he allegedly told her that her content wasn't at a level at which he wants his restaurant to be represented, which is like, dude, what are you doing? Well, why was she invited to your restaurant to do a video then? And number two, did you really think telling an influencer this wouldn't get broadcasted on their platform? Hello?
Immediately he said, did you do any research on this restaurant? Do you know what we do? Do you know who we are? And mind you, they're really new. They don't have a website, but I know their menu front and back because whenever I go to a restaurant, I study the menu because I know what I like to order and I want to know what the restaurant is that I'm collabing with. I tell him that you guys don't have a website, but I know you are a wine bar and you serve smaller bites. He asks for my TikTok, which clearly you've done no research about me as well. and he starts scrolling through and playing my TikToks on full volume at the restaurant. And not even my page, just the page that comes up when you search my name. After scrolling like 2 times, he says to me that he doesn't think my videos are at the level at which he wants his restaurant to be represented.
I just don't understand the situation because, okay, number one, she was invited out. You might as well just follow through, give her the meal, have her review it honestly, and then the post is up. What do you mean I don't want my restaurant perceived in this way? She's just reviewing your food. If your food is good, you have nothing to worry about. And I'm sure his food is good considering all of his credentials. But I guess he just decided to be a pretentious ass about it, and clearly that backfired. But also, what's interesting is Carla didn't actually name the restaurant or the chef in her original video, because she said the point was to encourage other smaller influencers to stick up for themselves, not to destroy someone's business. And honestly, from what we know about TikTokers, this was extremely respectful. But the internet being the internet put things together pretty quickly, especially when Isa, the daughter, decided to comment on her video. Yes, the same daughter that Luke bragged about having over 600,000 TikTok followers. She showed up and commented this: "No one should ever feel disrespected or uncomfortable in that way. I'm honestly very embarrassed that you had to go through that." So his daughter really delivered the final blow here, because that basically confirmed that this was the restaurant. And just like that, the floodgates opened of the internet, just going right at this restaurant. But Isa, she stepped even further, because 3 days later, she posted her own TikTok video addressing the situation, in which she actually said, in light of everything that's been happening, she just wants to say that she supports Carla, and what happened to her was not okay. She also revealed that as soon as she saw Carla's original video, she immediately recognized who she was talking about and contacted her father, urging them to apologize.
I know I wasn't the one who said those things, but hearing him use me as his daughter to belittle another person, a creator or not, was a complete shock to me and was unacceptable.
Meanwhile, Carla posted a follow-up video thanking everyone for their support and saying she hadn't expected the situation to escalate the way it did. And once Isa's comment confirmed that Kiss Cafe was the restaurant in question, the internet did what the internet does, and it canceled the restaurant out of business. Users started review bombing Kiss Cafe with negative comments across every platform. And by the weekend, their Google rating had plummeted to a 1.1 stars, with more than 4,500 reviews. Their Yelp score that dropped to a 2.8 and received an unusual activity alert due to the high volume of suspicious negativity. Most have since been removed by the platforms, but the damage was already done. And even on Instagram, there's just a bunch of comments dissing the restaurant. And the backlash was so intense that Kiss Cafe's other owners had no choice but to act fast. So the same Thursday, less than 24 hours after Carla's video went viral, the restaurant posted a statement on Instagram announcing they had cut ties with Luke's son completely. The statement read, "Our chef's behavior was unacceptable and he is no longer part of the team as a co-owner, as a chef, or in any other way." So that's crazy. It just goes to show you, in the service industry, your customer is your boss. You don't F around. You're playing Russian roulette at this point. Who knows who has a massive account on the internet that can get thousands of people to review bomb your stuff. And honestly, you don't even need to have a large following anymore. I mean, 15,000, it's a reasonable following, but it's not like a massive following. And still, just authentic content on the internet now goes more viral than ever. You can have 3 followers, but if you post a very engaging video that's solid, that people resonate with, it can reach millions of people in just 24 hours. I feel like we're actually at a point in social media where it's the easiest it's ever been to have a brand new account and make a 1 million view video. It happens every single day now. But 10 years ago, I mean, that never happened. But it really goes to show you that you can't let your feelings be your actions, and the typical parent comment of "think before you speak" clearly still stands to this day. And on June 27, 2025, they posted Luke's personal and public apology, in which they took full responsibility for the situation, apologized to Carla, and also to his daughter. And whether the apologies were genuine or not, by that point at least, unfortunately, it was a little too late. Despite firing Luke Sang and issuing their statements, Kiss Cafe announced over the weekend that they would be temporarily closing. But that temporary closure quickly became indefinite, as according to their Instagram bio, the restaurant is now permanently closed. The apologies being the only post remaining in their feed right now. And just like that, a business was completely destroyed. The restaurant industry has always been notorious for how volatile it is, is. But 2025, it's just completely different because information moves so quickly now. And it's honestly kind of wild to think about because Luke and his business partners probably spent months planning the restaurant, dealing with permits, hiring staff, developing a menu, getting everything ready for their grand opening in May. And then less than 2 months later, it was all over because the chef, not being able to leave his arrogance in the kitchen, decided to be passive aggressive to a TikTok creator that they plan to make a collab video with. I don't know if this is a hot take, but isn't this a little bit over the top? Like, I mean, okay, the dude was a douche, but completely destroying his career, that is wild. But also, I see why it happens, because if anything, it just shows you how quickly things move in the social media age. Because if you have this like one bad moment and it's documented on the internet, a lot of people do not want to support that. So then suddenly they just stop going to the restaurant. And of course, if word spreads out and you get review bombed like that and all that, like, people just don't show up. They vote with their feet. And obviously, investors can easily use this to force you out of the business. But after all this happened, Carla was a big winner here because she can easily drop the micro from the micro influencer title. Because now she has a little bit over 460,000 followers, and her video addressing the situation racked up over 25 million views, which completely transformed her entire social media career. She's continued making food content, recipes, and reviews, and seems to be handling her newfound fame pretty well. Luke Sang, on the other hand, is basically starting over from scratch. His restaurant is closed, his business partnership is over, and his reputation in the San Francisco food scene has definitely taken a massive hit. This was his first restaurant venture in over 15 years, and now he's back to square one. And I'm honestly pretty torn about this because in the hospitality industry, it's not unusual for chefs, especially head chefs, to come across as arrogant because it's a high pressure world with brutal hours and tough conditions. But that still doesn't excuse how Luke treated Carla. At the same time though, Luke wasn't the only one who paid the price. The restaurant is now permanently closed. Other staff lost their jobs, and months of hard work went down the drain. People obviously lose their cool sometimes, and I don't think a single mistake could define someone's entire character, but Carla understood that too. That's probably why she chose not to mention this restaurant in the first place. It does make you think though, like, would she have ever received an apology if she didn't make this video? Probably not. But this whole situation could easily become a case study when it comes to marketing classes or even hospitality classes and how to run a business in the future. Because apparently this is what can happen when you mistreat a content creator in 2025. And you don't know which customer of yours is a content creator. So you better treat all of your customers with respect. Because even a small creator with 15,000 followers can reach 25 million people in just a few days. That's crazy. And the term small is used lightly there because 15,000 followers is not a small creator, honestly. I think it took me about 3 years of tryharding YouTube to get to 15,000 followers. So that is definitely nothing to scoff at. But I mean, hey, at least the chef was never investigated for allegedly being involved with a $15 million insurance fraud like this couple right here, because that happened to them because an HOA Karen asked some women what they were doing at their house, and all of the women said, hey, we're married to this main guy who lives here. So I mean, it's safe to say that is quite the fascinating story. But either way, feel free to subscribe if you're new here, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.